You've heard of it, right? The 10,000-hour rule. It's probably one of the most famous ideas out there about what it takes to be truly great at something. It's so clean, so appealing. But what if that simple number is hiding a much more complex and honestly, a way more interesting truth? Let's get into it. So, let's ask the big question. Is there some kind of magic formula for becoming an expert? A clear-cut recipe for becoming world-class at something you really love? It's a question we all wonder about, and for a long time, it really seemed like we had the answer. And that answer was this one. Powerful number, 10,000. The rule was beautifully simple. If you put in 10,000 hours of practice, we're talking about 3 hours a day for 10 years, you could achieve mastery in pretty much anything. Now, this rule absolutely exploded into pop culture, mostly thanks to Malcolm Gladwell's fantastic book, Outliers. But the real science behind it, that came from the deep, foundational work of a psychologist named Anders Ericsson. And it's inside his original research that we find the first absolutely crucial detail. Because you see, it turns out not all practice is created equal. The 10,000-hour rule was never just about logging time. It was always about a very, very specific kind of practice. Ericsson called this the secret ingredient, deliberate practice. And this is so key. It's not about just going through the motions or zoning out. It's a focused, structured, and often pretty uncomfortable effort that is specifically designed to push you just past your limits. So, what does that really look like? Well, think of regular practice as comfortable, maybe even a little mindless. You're just repeating stuff. Deliberate practice is the total opposite. It's hard. It's mentally draining because you are forced to focus on the things you're bad at, with super clear goals and a constant need for feedback. This four-step loop is basically the engine of getting better fast. First, you set a hyper-specific goal. Not just get better at tennis, but land my first serve in the left corner 10 times in a row. You focus like crazy. You get immediate feedback. Did it go in or not? And then you reflect and tweak your technique. You do that over and over and over. And the evidence for this originally came from that famous study of violinists. What Ericsson found was this stunningly direct correlation. By the time they were 20, the absolute best violinists, the ones destined to be pros, had all clocked around 10,000 hours of this deliberate practice. The good ones, about 8,000. The hobbyists, only 4,000. It looked like a perfect formula. But you know where this is going, right? The story doesn't stop there. In the years since this rule got so famous, other researchers started digging a lot deeper and, well, they started to find some pretty big cracks in this simple formula. This led to a huge question. If two people put in the exact same 10,000 hours of high-quality, deliberate practice, are they guaranteed to get the same result? Is it really a sure thing? The science started to suggest, probably not. And then, a landmark study in 2014, a meta-analysis that looked at 88 different studies, blew this whole idea wide open. The findings were, frankly, stunning. It turns out that deliberate practice, while definitely important, only explained about 26% of the difference in performance in games, 21% in music, and just 18% in sports. A huge piece of the puzzle was clearly missing. Let that just sink in for a minute. In a lot of fields, practice accounts for less than a quarter of what separates the good from the truly great. So if hard work isn't the whole story, what is? What in the world makes up that other 75%? All right, so let's try to break down that other 75%. Let's see what the real ingredients for mastery actually are. So for years, we've been completely hyper-focused on that little 20% slice of the pie that represents practice. It's time we finally started talking about the other 80%, the massive part of the equation that's been kind of left out of the popular conversation. So what's in there? Well, researchers have identified a whole bunch of other critical factors, things like your cognitive abilities, your raw IQ and working memory. Then there are non-cognitive skills, like grit and self-control. Your genetics play a huge role. And of course, your environment, the quality of your coaching, the opportunities you get, even your own internal motivation. And some of these things are surprisingly baked in. Take grit, for example, that powerful mix of passion and perseverance that just keeps you going. A major study on twins found that almost 60% of the difference in grit between people could be chalked up to their genes. I mean, that's how deep some of these other factors can run. So, when we put all of this together, we can start to build a new, much more accurate recipe for mastery. It's less of a one-size-fits-all rule and really more of a personal formula. What is so fascinating is seeing how this recipe changes completely depending on the field. I mean, look at education. Practice only accounts for 4% of success, while your cognitive and non-cognitive skills are massive. And check this out. In complex professional fields, practice is less than 1%. Your raw cognitive ability is a much better predictor of success. The ideal blend of factors is different for everything. And here's where it gets really wild. The higher you climb, the less practice seems to matter as a differentiator. At the truly elite level, we're talking Olympians, grandmasters, everybody has put in the hours. The thing that separates them at that point isn't more practice. It's genetics, strategic thinking, and all these other innate talents that start to take over. So here is the ultimate takeaway. Mastery isn't just a simple investment of time. It's way more like a complex dance between the quality of your practice, the innate abilities you happen to bring to the table, and the opportunities that your environment gives you. Look, the 10,000-hour rule wasn't exactly wrong, it was just incomplete. It gave us a vital piece of the puzzle, the absolute importance of dedicated, deliberate practice. But the full picture is so much more personal. It encourages us not just to work hard, but to work smart and to find the place where our unique combination of effort, ability, and passion can really, truly shine. Which leads to the final question. What does that recipe look like for you?